Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Saturday. It's Daryl here. It's bright and freaking early. It's 3:30 a.m. on the dot here in Connecticut on the East Coast. I got a very interesting video. I want you guys, I think it's going to be a good video. I just have some basic ideas about Social Security and Medicare that I don't think conservatives, Republicans have really given a lot of thought to. A lot of this came up because I had a conversation just yesterday with a male nurse who is a friend of mine, and he's a hardcore GOP, small government kind of guy, and he's got his arguing points all down, bam, 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 everything I brought up, he's got boom, 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 he's got all his arguing point, he's giving this, you can tell this guy watches a lot of Fox News, and he spends a lot of time, it's all about winning the debate. And it's kind of funny, it's ironic, because just yesterday, I'll try to find this article. I read an article about intelligent arguing or intelligent debating, where you don't argue to win. You argue to learn, where you listen to the other person's arguments. It's not arguing to argue. Debating just to win doesn't have the benefits because you're not hearing each other. It's just kind of pointless, where one person spouts off this and the other person spouts off this, and you're not hearing each other. And I just read that yesterday. I'm probably going to talk about, I gave some thought to a proposal, GOP proposal in Iowa, to cut SNAP benefits or to limit SNAP benefits. I want to talk about that just really briefly. My own history, my father passing away, and Social Security. It's some things that I don't think conservatives really gave a lot of thought to. All right, let's just start yesterday with this friend of mine, this GOP male nurse, right? And I just listened to him talk. The first thing that came up was this whole debt thing with the GOP, the conservatives really don't, they're looking to cut Social Security and Medicare. Let's put it just like that, right? And this guy's first argument was, look, if you had a credit limit on your credit card of $1,000 and you're spending $2,000, does that make any sense? Is that doable? So he said that. And I gave that some thought about, raising the credit limit. And if I'm not mistaken, this whole credit limit, this money has already been spent. We're talking about paying past bills. So we're not talking about future spending like this guy was arguing, about $2,000 credit limit, and I'm going to go out and spend $4,000. We're talking about money that's already spent and defaulting. So in other words, this is if you're going to argue in that way, it's a little more like saying you have a $2,000 credit card bill and the bill comes due and you don't want to pay it, or you only have $1,000, you won't pay the whole thing, or you won't work more hours or whatever to pay the whole thing. It's already owed. These are past due bills. It's not, you're not we're talking about future spending. All right, I want to talk a little bit more about this hardcore conservative male nurse friend of mine. We've talked for years, about 16 years. We've been friends since I've been clean and sober. And along that time, he's told me a lot of his personal information about being divorced, having 2 kids, working 2 jobs, barely making ends meet, little stuff like buying new tires for his car and all this other stuff. So it sounds, this guy works hard and, sounds like he barely makes ends meet, but, lives a good life, but... And he started talking about, I brought up, I said to him, don't you want Social Security? Don't you, you paid into it your whole life. Don't you think, you paid into it, it's yours. And he gave me this response, and I've heard this response from other people like him. It's already gone. It's like this fatalistic, pessimistic attitude, this manly pull your, it's not even, it's cutting off your nose to spite your face kind of thinking. So I know. I don't know this guy's financial records. I don't know if he inherited a lot of money. But over the last 16 years, it sounds like, he's barely making ends meet. So what is his plan? I don't, like I said, I'm not arguing, I'm not trying to tear this guy down, so I'm just listening. But I'm wondering, once he hits 65, does he plan not to even live to 65? Like I said, fatalistic? Does he just not think about the future? Does he plan to work till they put him in the ground because that's the manly thing to do? I don't understand. I don't see what his plan is for the future because like I said, I don't want to dig into his finances or anything, but what is his plan? Does he have millions of dollars put in the bank to retire at 65 or 68 and then just live comfortably for 10, 20 years? It didn't sound like that to me over the last 16 years. It sounds like he's living month to month. So what is his plan? You know, it seems fatalistic. It seems like that macho approach, like screw everything. I want my money now. I don't want to pay any taxes. I want all the money now. Live for the moment and screw the future because I probably won't live till then. It's that kind of attitude, really. Okay, there's going to be a link down below. I was reading an article this morning about Iowa cutting SNAP benefits or limiting SNAP benefits. Listen, the link's right down below. Cannot buy any kind of fresh meat. Cannot buy fresh meat. Cannot buy nuts. Cannot buy any kind of nuts. Can't buy American cheese with it. I don't know what you can buy. The link will be right down below. GOP Iowa, a proposal right now to limit SNAP benefits. The only thing that I saw that you could buy is canned tuna fish. I started thinking about this a little more. Iowa. And I remember, hearing about farmers and these subsidies, and I see these huge billion-dollar farming equipment that these guys get money from the government. And how, these guys are always saying their crops are destroyed or ruined, and they're living quite well. They're all GOP supporters. They're living upper middle class. So I was wondering, how much money, how much welfare, how much entitlements are the farmers getting in places like Iowa? 2022, $160 billion, and it's going up. I think it's going up $14 billion. It went up $14 billion from 2021 to 2022 to $160 billion in farm welfare for these people. How come I don't hear any cuts to the farmers or anything like that? Why is that? So they could afford to buy these billion-dollar huge farming equipment, multiple cars, and vacations, and beautiful houses, and all that stuff. But you're cutting food benefits for people who are living hand to mouth. Okay. All right. Now I want to talk about my past, my own personal history. And I don't really, this is really personal, but my father worked 2 jobs. He died when I was 9. I'll get to that in a second. But he worked 2 jobs. He was 3 actually, a forest firefighter whenever there was forest fires. He was the state park game warden. He ran the state park, one of the state parks here in Connecticut, Black Rock State Park. And we lived in the state house. There was a house for the person that, full time. We lived in the park, in the state house. I remember him playing Smokey the Bear in the Fireman's Parade. He had the smoke. I'll put that in my on my thumbnail. I'll put a picture of him all dressed up in his park ranger outfit too. And then he worked at night in a factory to make extra money. All right. 1974, end of 1974. I remember this. He started getting double vision, and within 6 months, he had terminal malignant brain cancer, and he was gone in 6 months. He died in March 20th, 1975. I was 9 years old. My little sister was 3 years old. My mom was a usual 1975 housewife. No job, no real. She had a high school education. So he passes away. Hardworking man, American family. All right. Now we're looking at losing not only our home, because it was the state park home, and we're looking at having no income in the period of just a few months. Our entire life was upheaved. And this could happen to it can and does happen to any hardworking American family. If it wasn't for Social Security, we would have been out on the street within months. Me, my 3-year-old sister, and my mother living on the street. What did happen was my mother was able to go back to school for nursing. She ended up buying, within, I think it was maybe a year or 2, she ended up buying a house. And I ended up using some of that money to go to school. And it basically, our middle class family could have gone into just severe poverty and living on the street. If not for Social Security, it gave us a chance to get back to where we were after losing the breadwinner. I don't think the GOP conservatives think about this. This happens every day. This isn't about pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. This is stuff that just happens to millions of people every day in this country. One last thing I want to leave you guys with. Okay, cutting Social Security, right, and Medicare. And what would happen? What would happen to the country? What would happen to the more wealthy people? The middle class, upper middle class, the people that do have nest eggs, what would happen to them? Would they just get all their tax money back and live great and be able to afford an extra vacation because they're not giving entitlement money away? I don't think so. Because where does that money go? The people get in Social Security. Where do they spend that? Housing, food, and clothes. Once that money stops coming in, they're not paying for housing, they're not paying for food, they're not paying for clothes. What are those people that run those businesses? Food, clothing. What about the investment property? Who's going to pay the rent on those investment properties? Who's going to pay the mortgage on those investment properties? It's going to be a similar situation. These people can't run right out and get a job that will pay the mortgage or pay the rent. They're going to stay in these homes that they're living in now. They're just not going to be able to pay the rent. A situation similar to what just happened during COVID. And the people that have investment properties, that have large incomes, that are rooting right now to get their tax money back and not spend it on entitlements, are going to go broke too. Are going to have a bunch of foreclosed property because they're not going to be able to pay the mortgages, the investment money they spent into it. The people that have cafes, the people that run small diners, small grocery stores, clothing, vacations, cars. People won't be able to pay their their car loans. People that own car dealerships will go broke. Think about that. Where does this money go? The only people this will benefit is the very, very, very top tier that don't spend, that have tons of discretionary spending money. It'll throw the entire economy into a collapse, basically. It will not just affect those people in the middle to lower income. It'll affect the people way above that too immediately. Just like the COVID thing, when people couldn't pay their rent. Who's going to pay the rent? Who's going to pay the mortgage? These people that are all getting Social Security are using that money to pay rent and mortgages. What's going to happen when they can't pay that? It would crush the entire company, the entire country. Plus, it's our damn money. I paid into that for 30 or 40 years. It's my money. It's not an entitlement. All right. That's what I have to say today, you guys. Have a good Saturday.